So there's definitely something going on here with the oaths as well. If you go onto the Crown Prosecution Service website, so the oaths and affirmations here below are examples of the types of oaths and affirmations used in court. So they've got the witness oath. This is the standard witness oath that they quote on the Crown Prosecution Service website, right? I swear, according to religious belief, enter your own religious belief there. Well, actually, apparently most of the main religious beliefs believe in some sort of God, and they all use the same word God when you talk to them. So unless it's Dawkins wouldn't want to do... Well, it says according to religious belief, but Dawkins doesn't have a religious belief. If you put I swear by and then in brackets according to your particular religious belief, that would suggest that you've got one. Dawkins doesn't have a religious belief, so I don't really know what he swears when he goes into court. That the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Well, actually, they didn't get me to swear that when I was in court. When I was in court at Leicester, I'm sure, Loughborough, it was I swear to tell the truth. Oh no, it's so help me God at the end, didn't it? They don't have the so help me God at the end. They say I swear by God. You don't get any assistance from God anymore. No help will come from you. Luckily, in my oath, I did swear at Cub Scouts. They were doing it at Cub Scouts. The Cub Scout promise is an oath. Actually do duty to... He said actually do duty to God. Doesn't necessarily have to be helped by, actually. To do duty. So... It used to be so help me God. It was well recognised. I think we must have picked that up from America. You get help from God in America, clearly not in England. The witness affirmation. Why have a witness oath and a witness affirmation? It goes, I do solemnly, sincerely, and truthfully declare and affirm that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Well, you can have an affirmation when you write down a document or statement as well. Like I declare that all the facts are accurate and so forth. I think that affirmation might apply to documents, but don't quote me on that. Now, the promissory oath. This oath should be taken by any person. Right. It's a promissory oath. That means it's a promise, but it's still an oath. So they're acknowledging that it's still an oath. Now, this is when we get into children. I think that the Crown Prosecution Service and the courts do know about the legal effect and validity of the Baden-Powell oath, because it's under a royal charter. It's actually issued under the authority of the Privy Council. I didn't know that, and I do now. It is connected to the Archbishop of Canterbury, and therefore to the Lord Chief Justice as well, and the Privy Council and King. So they're the ones who issued it, and actually the Queen issues it like any of the other charters that the courts operate under and get authority under, but it is the courts only have a charter for a certain area. The jurisdiction of that oath is for all of the country, but not only all of the country, but all over the world. Like the army, when the army are operating overseas. It's ironic that the whole Starship Enterprise, and obviously when Jean-Luc Picard gets put in there, because he's a spitting image of Baden-Powell, is Jean-Luc Picard. He's almost like separated at birth, and he's out there scouting out into the universe in the Enterprise. So there are ties between that and the fact that they got, an English guy to take over from Kirk, and then, he's a Knight of the Realm and all that, kneeled in and everything. So there are some symbology and motifs purposely planted in there when it comes to, people in service. I guess that's what Nick Clegg's up to with his Facebook presidency out there in the regions of the internet, I suppose, in a way. And Tony Blair, let's not forget Tony Blair in between the brickwork in the cracks between the countries. So yeah, the thing is now they've got they put the promissory oath in here. I think it's 10 years old. You have to correct me if I'm wrong, but it's definitely 10 years old. It's 10 years old before I think you can be prosecuted, but they can still go to. They still have kind of like youth courts and so forth, I think. And then you've got juveniles. So they call it a promise. Well, they do it in a promise when you go to Cub Scouts, but the juvenile courts are still courts and family courts, so you've still got a judge, and it's still. The family court was actually in the court at Leicester, but at the other side of the court, but it was still within the building. So it is a jurisdiction, and you're still required to take an oath. There are plenty of family matters that you have adults involved in anyway. So I think, I don't know whether they're trying to underplay that. I'm trying to make out that, it's only for kids or whatever. But, the jurats were sworn in for life, unless they were discharged. I think in some of those other charters, the mayors have a permanent position as justices, even though when they were removed in some of the charters, after a mayor has finished being a mayor, he's still a justice, and some of the aldermen. But anyway, so the promissory oath. So this is for people in front of you for family courts. Well, family aren't necessarily young people. And by a child before any other court. Well, that means if they're under 10. Because I don't think you can have any legal action under 10. A child under the age of 14 shall give their evidence unsworn in criminal proceedings. All right. Got a child before any other court. The oath should be taken by any person before the youth or family court, and by a child before any other. All right. So any child who has to go to court, they might not necessarily have to be. All right. So they might not be at the end of being prosecuted. They might just be a witness. You might have to have a child appear as a witness. The child can't be prosecuted if they're under 10, but it says that they might have to. You might need a child to appear as a witness, so they can give evidence, but not necessarily be prosecuted. A child under the age of 14 shall give their evidence unsworn in criminal proceedings. Oh, right. So if you're under the age of 14, this oath should be taken by any person before a family or youth court, and by a child before any other court. A child under the age of 14 shall give their evidence unsworn in criminal proceedings. All right, so that's criminal. Child under the age of 14 shall give their evidence unsworn in criminal proceedings. Does that include if they're a witness as well, then? I guess that includes if they're a witness as well. If criminal, so criminal and civil are different. I promise, according to religious belief, it'd be lucky if they had a religious belief. I'm quite amazed that they're still getting kids into religion, and with all this gender bending, I'm quite surprised that they've actually said, "Oh, you can." The amount of time they're encouraging them to be atheists now. What do you put in there if you don't have a religious belief? It says according to religious belief. Well, Dawkins doesn't have a religion. He doesn't believe in religion. So I promise before what? Just I promise. Is it just I promise that so you don't have one? Which is quite difficult because you got to put your hand on the book. So what? I mean, do they even have different books in the court now that they swap between? But does Dawkins swear on, unless it's like, I don't know whether he swears on the Encyclopedia Britannica or maybe the Oxford Dictionary or something, maybe the science journals or something. Maybe he has a compendium of science journals and he just puts his hand on that. I'm not sure. I promised before that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So that it just starts with promise. Is there any point in changing that? I don't see why. To be honest, I can't see myself why the change I do solemnly and sincerely and truly. I swear by, a child's not allowed to swear. I think it could be the fact that children, apparently they're not supposed to know the difference between right and wrong, right? So if a court cannot determine whether a child does know the difference between right and wrong at that age, then how can they stick to a promise? How are they trustworthy to stick to a promise or not? So what's the point? So and children aren't going to swear. So why would if they don't want a child to swear, then why have an adult swearing? Although if it's a family court and civil court, apparently you can promise. But it's still a court. You can have a promissory affirmation as well. I do solemnly and sincerely truly declare and affirm that the evidence I shall give to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So the promissory affirmation doesn't actually have a promise in it. But also you don't swear. You declare and affirm. So, Crown Court Witness Oath. I swear, according to religious belief, that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Crown Court Witness Affirmation. So that's pretty same as giving evidence. The evidence at a trial usually starts with the prosecution witnesses and is then followed by the defence witness. So you can actually, it's legally valid. The promise is legally valid in a court, that's for sure, as an oath. And also to an adult in civil proceedings. The ironic thing is, though, that if you actually are doing petition, usually to get a confirmation or a permission through the Tumultuous Act, you went through civil proceedings anyway, if you wanted to collect more than 20 signatures. But then that's it, you got authority to go ahead. So that's in civil proceedings. I don't know about criminal investigation though, because you're not. The funny thing about inquiries are no one's particularly getting prosecuted, but it involves criminal matters that you're investigating, and you want further wider investigation in it that you're pursuing, And how about those election petitions where it is a trial but under civil proceedings and there still is a prosecutor present, and then you've got indemnities and privileges. That's the thing, though. The child has privilege and immunity because of age, because they're not old enough to be prosecuted. So, but they still can be called to give evidence and answer questions. That's like, it's almost like a little law, isn't it? With like a little mark on. It's almost, when you're a child, ultimately up to 10-year-old, or, well, they're saying 14 on here, but I'm sure I read it was 10, because then there's some room for juvenile courts and so forth, but before they get to, like 18 or whatever. I think that it's almost like, if you're under the age of criminal prosecution, you almost have got little tiny law, like little immunity, and it's interesting that you still can appear to give evidence, particularly like if you as a witness, that's a little bit like the setup they've got for Lords in those Corrupt and Legal Practices Act until later on when they started to change it. But it was kind of set up like that, where you still had to give evidence and tell the truth under oath. They're still required, you see, they're still required to take the oath and tell the truth in that election petition rules. They're still required to take the oath and tell the truth. So we can establish, what has been done wrong in order to put it right again. It treats the privilege just like separately to do with them themselves actually being prosecuted or suffering any consequences. The thing with the act of indemnity under William Orange, they can be exempted from that, so they don't have the indemnity. I think that's how they do it under the Act, with having to tell the truth, or you're not entitled to the certificates of indemnity. As long as you tell the truth, you're entitled to them, which means that as long as you are actually legitimately pursuing something where there is some sort of wrongdoing or legitimate grievance, then I think you're meant to be entitled to it. That's where I've got to now with the 1688 Bill of Rights. I've actually found as much dialogue as they're giving us from the actual sessions in Parliament, and it seems to me like it's pretty much confirmed. I just want to try and find some evidence of dialogue in the proceedings, at least equal something like that William Penn case trial. I want to find some evidence of dialogue similar to the Penn trial, but for the Tumultuous Act, when they're seeking to get permission, there's got to be some dialogue in there. But then, those Parliament sessions, 1688 and 1689, they're pretty much laying it out in and around their other dialogue with the other issues that they've got on the menu for discussion. They're pretty much laying it out with that act of indemnity. I think you get it's looking like you get the indemnity. They're giving you the indemnity, but if they don't, it really, what happened to me, well, I didn't have the indemnity because I ended up in court, but, I was seeking to get the indemnity. Well, the 1688 Bill of Rights just granted indemnity, but I went to seek to get it affirmed. That's what happened, and I had a special hearing arranged to get it affirmed. But the problem is that he said that no such thing exists, which is wrong. It does exist. He said that no such principle or thing or procedure exists in law. So he's wrong. At least, if it was William Orange, at least like they know that they're actually confirming that it freaking exists, and you can have it. It's there, and it can be had, or you have got it unless they say you don't. That's something there that exists. What a decision can be made on, but not like denying its very existence. This is kind of like why Angela Ditchfield, the case of Angela Ditchfield is so amazing, because it's like Max Hill, no such thing exists. There's no such thing in law. It completely and total blatant disregard for the existence in order so they can throw around the Criminal Damage Act. Effectively, it's very similar to what happened to me in Ditchfield in a way. People ignored that certain acts exist. Only with her, it was the Crown Prosecution Service themselves, I don't think that she turned up at the High Court. That would have been one court session that I could have been useful in if I'd have been there. I don't think she went to the High Court. I doubt it. I just think the CPS went there. And I don't know what the CPS were playing at in that. There's serious professional negligence going on. Well, it's not professional negligence, it's perverting the course of justice. And I don't think that anyone's been brought to justice for that perversion of course of justice yet. Hopefully there will be. So yeah, I I was going to stop recording them, but I just decided to say this. So I think the Cub Scout oath is valid. It's a bylaw. It is a bylaw. And what a bylaw is, it is a law that applies to a certain area, right? Like the bylaws of London or, Kent or Bristol or wherever. And the ironic thing is that this particular bylaw covers all of England, and even if you leave England, which is quite interesting. And further to that, it even clearly states that the courts have got a legal obligation to recognise it as a bylaw and jurisdiction. A judge and a court have got a legal obligation. It states in writing, in words, this is what you want in the 1688 Bill of Rights. It's so right to say, it's the right of the subjects to petition the king, and all prosecutions and commitments for doing so are illegal. But those really are that is something when it says it is a legal requirement for a judge and a court to recognise this charter and its authority. Now, that is something that would have been useful to pull out your pocket if you got DJ Watson stood in front of you, shouting, commanding at you. This is ludicrous, preposterous. If I can remember what he said, some long offending word. I can't remember if it wasn't insane. It was one of the other ones. I've got it all written down anyway. But he basically said one of those words around that I was, something wrong with me. Insane, preposterous, ludicrous, something around those lines. Delusional, that's the word. Delusional, I knew I'd remember it. Delusional, I said it was delusional. I actually really, really, really wish I'd have had that Cub Scout charter in my pocket, then I pulled this out and it says, well, actually you just illegally prosecuted me according to this charter, you don't have the jurisdiction, and no court or judge can ignore or deny the authority of this charter. And I like to see him struggle with that one, and he probably got even more angrier if he'd pulled that out. That's for sure. And so, by the way, you're under arrest. You see, that's the thing, right? That Rob the Ratcatcher guy who's on Vobes, when he tried to arrest those judges. And I mean, that's got to be pretty, whoa, pretty crazy. That actually tried to attempt to arrest the judges, but he didn't have any he wasn't carrying off around any jurisdiction or anything. I actually reckon you could pull it. I think you could pull it off with this certificate. I reckon you can pull it off with this if you're doing police, because it says you can act and work under any authority of England, whether it's the army, the police, or any government or body politic. Scout can act and work under and with any other different department of government. So if you're investigating illegal and corrupt judges, you pretty much got the same authority as a police officer, really, but for all of the country, not just one area, because that's the thing with the whole point of having a scout. What's the point in having a scout if he can't, go look? It's to explore and look for dangers all around, not just one area, but all. He goes around through all areas ahead of everyone. He goes out. That's the whole point of the Enterprise is meant to be going out into the unknown, isn't it, or whatever. So it's beyond policing. It's actually beyond police officer, because they're only allowed to work in one local area. So Scout is actually got a wider range of operation than a police officer, and it is actually under the Privy Council authority, which is effectively like when the right to petition is to petition the King, to bring a case to the King, which effectively is Archbishop of Canterbury and the Lord Chief Justice in the Privy Council as well. And, supposedly Lucy Fraser as well, who supposedly is the right on Lucy Fraser, who's, colluded with YouTube and Facebook to aid and abet, unfortunately, us all getting, contravention of the Public Meetings Act 1908. which is completely and totally illegal. So there's some questions going on there. I actually think that I'm quite actually quite impressed now with the fact that you actually have got an authority. You probably I actually also, another thing that I need to note in those charters is that this is really, really important. It says under all the original charters, under like all the London charters and the other ones for Warwickshire, the basis is that if anyone breaks the law, then they've got to answer to a jury through lawful due process. And anyone in the city or town or whatever, and it actually does not exclude the mayor, it does not exclude the aldermen or the sheriff. So there isn't necessarily any immunity. Only the MP, because it's the MP who works with Parliament. The elected MP is working under the jurisdiction of Parliament, and I think there's assize judges as well, because the assize judges come round on the circuit from Parliament, the King's Bench, and that. The mayor isn't on that circuit, or the local justices of the peace. All justices of the peace weren't actually under that. They were under the local justices of the peace are under the local charter. I can't see how that's changed, to be honest, unless it's in one of the Courts Acts or Magistrates Acts, because I've actually searched through a lot of those acts in the search. I haven't read them all word for word, but I started looking through some of those Justices of the Peace Acts and Court Acts for the word indemnity or privilege and so forth, and it didn't pop up or appear in there. From what I saw, I don't think that I don't think that the police chief or the court staff have got any immunity when they are if they commit an offence. So some of the CPS are reckoning that you can't accuse a jury or challenge a jury after they've been sworn in, but that's not necessarily true, because there's lots of they're subject to a lot of legislation and rules themselves anyway. So if they can, if they can be prosecuted with those, then it's not really a true statement, because it says you can challenge the jury before they're sworn in, but there's certain legislation that they've got to comply with, and if you report them in for any of those offences, then you are effectively challenging them. If any of the jury break any of the laws that they're not allowed to break, right, and you actually the person who are witness to it, right, through whatever circumstances out of court it just happens to be, then you can report them in. You can actually accuse them of that offence, and that is effectively how is that not challenging a juror? How is once they've already been sworn in and proceedings are carrying on, how is finding a juror has broken their own the laws of the court? How is that not challenging them? That's got to be challenging them, because they're making out that they can't be challenged, by the defendant unless you challenge them before they're sworn in. Unless they break the rules of the court, and then you can say, you can challenge them on that. Oh right, on that we can challenge. So I can challenge them then, Judging by a lot of the other legislation that they've been making, though, and some of those Hansard dialogues where they actually just lie about stuff, the whole thing's starting to crumble, really. It must be like some kind of Leaning Tower of Pizza kind of mishmash. There are people who actually are working on AI now, right? And there's two ways you can go with it. They need to try and program AI, right, so it won't go after them. So, like, all of the people in Parliament who are in control of it, they've got to try and, be in control of AI, right? Because, if you get like an honest, normal, legitimate person who's going about their own business in some kind of, like computer lab in God knows where, Coventry or somewhere, right? And he presses the button and then it starts examining entire Hansard records. And then he figures out, like a list of people who have broken the law, and corrupt and illegal practices, oh no, that's not the kind of AI that we want. That's not the kind of AI that Lucy Fraser wants or anyone else in Parliament, AI that comes out with a list of corrupt and legal practices on record in Hansard in Parliament, which are prosecutable, in the Supreme Court. No, we don't want that kind of AI. We want to make sleeping in doorways prosecutable against tramps. Serious things, important things, not likely carrying the integrity of the laws of England that could prove, with a push of a button, that half of the legislation is defective, defaulted, contradictory, or in other terms incompatible with the other laws or legislation. Really a logic machine, an intelligent logic machine has got to be the worst nightmare of some of these current MPs. I think someone told a person in one of the groups that one of the Welsh members of Parliament claimed to one of the people in one of the 20-mile-an-hour groups that you can't have a you can't have a referendum over, or you can only have a referendum over a national matter, which is complete tosh, because the main referendum procedures are in the Local Government Act, but those are only a model anyway. The actual rules for petitioning for referendums is that there are no rules for the petition, and the petition you can make your own rules up, because the point of a petition is like you're proposing legislation. And the basis of a petition is that because you can propose legislation, then you could propose actually any referendum, and you could propose any single referendum. It's almost like in Parliament, they can put a bill through, to get someone prosecuted, or to get a certain, they can put a bill through Parliament to do something like, prosecute certain people or overturn a prosecution. It doesn't have to be a law. It's that basis by which that you can actually petition for a referendum and it to be run how you want it to be run, by your own referendum procedure or rule. Because really, like, you're drafting a bill for it, and if it gets approved, it actually can be approved by the local council for a referendum to be run in the manner that you want it to be, and by your rules, in the same way that government passes legislation. There's a lot of people in the Welsh Parliament who really don't know what they're talking about, and they're kind of like just on one. It's almost like they're on some sort of trip or something. They need to be woken up, they need to sniff the smelling salts. You can't pin these people down. They don't reply to you. They're like, it's like trying to, it's like, squeezing water or sand or something, or a slippery serpent. If you could pin some of these people down, but then they start bringing the police in, saying, "Oh no. Well, no, I want to question them." It's a miracle the police can get criminals pinned down in the questioning room, isn't it? Wouldn't it be something if we could get a minister in the questioning room, let alone 5 minutes, with them in the surgery? I was about to have a meeting with my MP in the surgery when he just started. He was a brand new MP. And all of England got shut down and locked down. And that was like 2 days or a day before I had to meet him, and I was going past on the bus, past the place where I was supposed to meet him, and someone sprayed something on the bus shelter, some sort of nice message on the bus shelter. I think maybe other people had meetings with him as well that got cancelled. So, if I had 5 minutes in a questioning room with some of these MPs, I think they'd be terrified, and just out of truth, they'd be terrified of truth and fact, and having to answer questions. But some people turn up at these council meetings and they don't get any questions out of anyone, do they? This is it. I think something is going to happen sooner or later, because we've got that Colchester Council Watch is really on it. They are really on it, and they are like doing some like really cool, amazing things like with the local councils. But you know, the rest of it, things are happening. You know, wheels are turning. I think that we could do it in like, you know, like that. I think if you could get hold of the lever and pull it, you know, which basically means if you could get all these people now who are kind of like, they're kind of like, have you seen in Doctor No when like the dogs are chasing them and they go underwater with like, you know, they've got like the breathing thing, the tube, and they go under the water and breathe through the bamboo tube so they can't find them. So the dogs are on the scent, you know, the dogs are on the scent, they got the show, but they don't find them. The dogs are on the scent, but they still can't quite find them, you know, they're around you somewhere. Everyone's like that at the moment. They're like, oh no, they're onto something, but they haven't quite found what yet. If we could just get some of these, you know, like masses of people, I mean, they got 83,000 people in some groups. If they could get them to suddenly like click and realize that, just that realization in their mind, and they all suddenly emailed the, you know, the truth, you know, squared up with the truth and the fact, and press the button, hit the nail on the head, you know, with both what the petitions committee are doing wrong, illegally, and each of the other, you know, ministers, people, exactly what they're doing wrong. It would all just go straight away. There's no doubt about it. I mean, it's almost like we've got people who are like, the analogy is like, you know, they know there's a lever there somewhere now, but they're like, you know, they can't see it. It's like with their eye, they're feeling for it with their eyes closed, and they can't quite, you know, where's the lever? Oh, they're like close to it, like a couple of centimeters away. They just can't quite grab hold of it yet. You just can't quite yet grab hold of these MPs and say, that's a corrupt and illegal practice. You know, clause 6, paragraph 7, blah, 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 bang, bang, bang. That's illegal. You know, no, we'll have a referendum now on that, you know, this, that, and the other. It would just be like, they just go down like dominoes. It would just be literally like, they just go, gone. You know, you wouldn't even have any, you'd have to call like a general election, because you'd have to re-elect every single MP, you know, or nearly short of every single MP. You know, it'd just be gone, because there are now facts known about what is being done that is clear criminal, and clearly obstructive, but everyone's so close to it now. You know, that they're on it. They are on it, but it's like that they're on the thing. It's like, but they just haven't found the button yet, you know, to turn it off. It's like they've found the thing, and they're all over the thing. They're all over the subject. They're all over the issue. You know, they're literally all over the issue, but they just quite haven't like found the button yet. And that's the thing, trying to get them to find the button. You're trying to like shout at them, tell them where it is, but they don't listen. You know, it's like that's like another. It's like another film, isn't it? Like on Stardust, you know, when they're in that old pub that ends up getting kind of burned down, or it doesn't really get properly burned. I think it's kind of like magical flames, but there's those like guys who are kind of like ghosts, or kind of like, I don't know if they're ghosts or they're dead, but they're shouting to that guy where the thing is. They're trying to tell him where the thing is, and he can't hear them, and it's just like next to him, but he can't see. He's like, it's there, and he's like, you know, and they're trying to tell him where it is, but he can't hear them. He's kind of like that at the moment, just trying to tell them exactly what to do it, and it's just a shame, really. But at least they're kind of on the scent, and at least they are on it. At least they're kind of like doing something, but it's kind of like on some of these computer games when you've got, you know, like the end of level, you know, boss, and you can hit it as many times as you want, or you can like, you know, shoot it as many times as you want in the computer game, that is, you know, but it's like this big beastie, but it's imperious, you know, like you fire all the firepower at it, but it just doesn't do anything to it. You've got to like shoot it in this exact place, or you've got to like hit it in this exact spot, or you can't, like, it doesn't take any damage off it, or he doesn't put any damage onto it, like, and that's kind of a little bit kind of like what's happening now, really. You've got so many people who are all over it, and there's like, firing in complaints, emails, like everyone is on it, but they just haven't quite got it in the spot yet. And that is, getting these MPs, I reckon you could get them on the spot if you could get them in the room and get them pinned down. It's all right for the police. They've got the jurisdiction, they just come round, we get it's all right if you've got a walkie-talkie and some backup, It's all right for the police when they've got a little walkie-talkie, and get the pals around to give them a hand. That's all right, they can throw any charge they want at it, like belly flop it with a red belly, Oh, criminal damage, that's criminal damage, bollocks, Here it is. Who says me? I say bang, red belly flop, bang. It's like a special move, isn't it? Like police criminal damage move. It's like a super sumo move, bang. Criminal damage. It's like get on the diving board. Belly flop, bang, straight in the concrete water. Just criminal damage it, bang. That's not criminal damage. He's never seen criminal damage. It is when I fucking put it through. Bang! There's more damage. All these victims. That's not a victim. That's an offender. Look, watch. I'll super sumo him off the top fucking diving board. Bang! Criminal damage. Bang! Criminal damage. Oh, there's a cop jumping on me from a fucking diving board with a criminal damage charge. Super sumo. Bang! He's gonna hit me like fucking concrete water. Bang! What's the damage? 6 months community service, bang! 6 months community service, bang! 6 for a fucking belly cop, bang! What's that? Sumo, bang! That's not criminal damage. It's never seen criminal damage. Super sumo cop, bang! Another criminal damage charge. Just fucking batter it with a sledgehammer. There's no finesse or panache. It's like fucking Max Hill, with his criminal damage charges. That's not criminal damage. That's defacement. That's defacement, Max. There's the 2 acts there. These are the acts we use, and that's what it is. That's why there's a special procedure to use, not fucking belly flop sumo, man. That's defacement. No, it's not. It's criminal damage. Bang! Sumo belly flop, red belly. Bang! Super cop. Bang! There's no finesse. There's none of this like acrobatics. There's none of this diving board, finesse, acrobatics, triple backflip, somersault loop, Olympic fucking diving board. It's just like bang, It's just bollocks, isn't it?